we're going to welcome now Stacy Arena and Brandi Kane. They're from Davidson Middle School in Tampa, Florida, which is where I spent most of my career before coming to South Carolina. And while I don't know them personally, I do know their district coordinator. They have, I think, over 90 schools implementing in their county right now, in their district. And this was the school, and these were the people that came right to her mind when I asked if she had any recommendations for an administrator who could talk to our group. So we want to be sure and give them as much time as possible to share with us today. So welcome, Stacy and Brandi.
Thank you, Karen. Well, good afternoon, everybody. One word that we were thinking about, the secret recipe for us, is consistency. You have to be consistent in a recipe for it to come out good, which is why I don't cook. But also in school, when you think about school and everything that you do, the more consistent you are with things, the better run the school flows. So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, I'm Stacy Arena, principal at Davidson Middle School. I have 30 years experience in Hillsborough County and 9 years currently at Davidson Middle School. And I have with me Ms. Kane.
And I'm the RTI resource, and I've got 27 years in the school district. Yeah.
So little bit of background about Davidson Middle School. We are a Title I school. We have roughly 62% free and reduced. We have about 900 students total on our campus. We are a little bit down this year, about 75 kids less. We have roughly 150 kids that have some type of IEP. Our ELL ranging from LYAs that are monolingual to students that are becoming proficient. We have about 192 kids total. And then you can see the demographics of our students there, with the majority of our students here are Hispanic. So the first thing you got to do when you're looking at building your tier 1 behavior plan is you have to really build your team. And I want to start off by saying I have an amazing group of instructors here that do the work. And I just want you to be aware of what we have currently at our school. We have 2 success coaches. And when I put Title I by that, they are, for lack of a better word, they're purchased out of Title I dollars. The district does not provide success coaches, but as a Title I school, we have the money that we're able to use for what we had needed our school. And so we have 2 success coaches on campus. We have an RTI teacher, which is Ms. Kane, full-time. We do have 2 assistant principals, literacy coach that's also purchased through Title I. We do have 2 guidance counselors, 1 social worker, 1 ELL resource teacher, a part-time psychologist that comes here 2.5 days a week, and 1 full-time BCBA that the district provides. And so before you even begin, you have to build an effective team. And when we have this team, you can kind of see here, this roster, we try to get a mix of people, of different teachers that teach different subjects, administrators, coaches, and also some of your naysayers you really need on the team, because you want to hear from their perspective of why maybe things are working or not. So we start with that. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to analyze your behavior data. So this is just an example of ours, our top 10 incidences from 23-24. You can see top 1 being disruptive all the way down to major disruption on campus. And those were the number of incidences. So you look at your data each year, and from there, you have to develop your expectations and align them with the behavior. So on the bottom there, you can see, for example, our 3 expectations on campus are be responsible, be respectful, and be safe. And everything we do goes around those 3 expectations. So you match the behavior with those expectations. So this is a good way to clearly communicate. So for example, disruptive could fall under being responsible. Disobedient, insubordination can fall under being respectful, and then dispute or horseplay can fall under being safe. So identifying the behaviors matching to expectations. And then from there, what we do is we define the behavior again, and we make sure, again, there's the word consistency in the use. We follow the Hillsborough County Student Code of Conduct because it defines each of these behaviors. There's no reason to change the language, because then it's confusing to parents and to teachers and to students. So we use the same language, and we use the handbook to also guide us in our steps. So mandatory things would be parent, contact, and then based on the severity, it gives you some options on what you can do. for each example. This was one of disobedience. One that kind of is a gray area is when you talk about horseplay. A lot of people want to code things as fighting, which horseplay and fighting, if you work at a middle school, you understand that's every second of the day. Somebody's touching somebody or saying something to somebody. It's constant. It doesn't mean because I slap her or hit her in a playful way, maybe not when they get hurt, is considered a fight. So really defining what is horseplay, what is fighting, physical contact. There's a bunch of different behaviors. So really defining that. So then these are our expectations that we roll out during pre-planning with faculty. So this is this year's expectations and rules. And what does it look like in the hallway before and after school? What does it look like in the classroom? What could it look like in the restroom area? What can it look like in the cafeteria? All around respectful, responsible, and safe. And so this we live in and die by, these expectations, and recognizing when we see these kids doing these things, we also use PBIS reward points that tie into our expectations. And the next few slides, we took pictures across campus, and you can see we have this beautiful signage everywhere, what it looks like in the hallway. We have those banners hanging on the walls. There's also signage, you know, by all the entry points and exit points of the school, what it looks like in the restroom. We put those by the bathrooms. And then we also have them hung up in the cafeteria as reminders. Instead of saying, sit down, it's thank you for, you know, we have college themed rows. So we'll say, thank you, Gator Table, for coming in and sitting down quietly at your table. And then we will also sometimes give PBIS points and recognize those tables that are doing the right thing. We also recognize the tables that leave it the cleanest. If you worked in the middle school cafeteria, you can only imagine what that looks like with 300 kids in there. So those, and you will find as we've been doing that, noticing what kids are doing right in the cafeteria instead of what they're not doing, they actually get up and get a broom and they're sweeping and they're cleaning, like we're shocked. So they're actually leaving it, you know, because of the table that's the cleanest, they get to go first the next day. So it's little things like that tied to our expectations.
And our flow chart. So this is, we started this a couple of years ago, and it has developed and evolved as the years have passed. And we took respectful, safe, and responsible and really broke it down for the behaviors teacher managed versus admin managed. Our teachers, we were finding that our teachers were not necessarily following the flow charts as far as interventions go. They wanted to go straight to a referral. So it took some time to really use the PBIS program to promote the positive behaviors and not focus so much on the negative. And then when they had to focus on, you know, what the student is doing wrong, are they documenting it? Are they contacting the parent? Are they moving their seats? So we spent a lot of time revamping the flow chart to make it more specific for our teachers. And this goes back to our team, having those naysayers on our team. Their perspective helped a lot develop this flow chart. So it's very important. The team is definitely the first step. You can go ahead. Yeah. So progress monitoring and messaging throughout the year. So we have our grade levels meet for what we call MTSS behavior. Our team leaders run it, and they analyze data and determine, you know, what the trends are and what interventions can be done. We do PBIS walkthrough quarterly. And then we have everything we do goes back to data. So, you know, a lot of times teachers may want to say, you know, so-and-so is just constantly disrupting the class. But then when we go back into our program focus to see if there's the data, it's not there. So then we bring it back to the flow chart, and our team leaders kind of run that part. And then the walkthrough. So this is our district does this, and I lead it with the team leaders, and we walk through to capture the data for each of the look fors, and you can see like Q1, quarter 1 to quarter 2, the improvements, and then we develop some professional development training around this data of areas that we need to improve. So one of the biggest areas is, yeah, the rules might be posted, but are teachers actually referencing the behavior, expectations with the behavior in the classroom? And the next,
Yes, so Brandi, I just wanted to pop in. Our school, this cohort of schools has not learned about a walkthrough yet, and it will be part of our, in your first year of implementation, we'll be using a walkthrough tool that's similar to this, not this precise one, but so you don't have to worry about it till next year sometime, but it'll be coming down the road. And I hope that maybe you can speak to the value of this measure and how, from your perspective as administrators and support personnel.
yes, so the right side is, it's interesting because what we do is we walk around. Now, if I do it, the kids and the teachers and stuff, they know what to say. But when we have district people come in, they'll walk around and they'll ask students, do you know your expectations? And if the students can respond, so that's the data that's on the right side. And then asking staff members, do they know, who the team is? Do they know what data is used to determine next steps for our interventions? And it's, when we first started, I personally thought, oh yeah, everyone knows what our expectations. And when I was walking through, and this is like 5 years ago, I was like, some of the students were like, what expectations? So I knew, okay, we need it back, and so it was good. The data is good to really figure out where you're at as a school, and then take it back to your team and really problem solve around that. Without that data, and you can put your signs up and make your school look pretty, but if you're not doing anything with it, it's not going to progress forward. School-wide tier 1 plan. Our district actually asks us to do a tier 1 behavior plan. And with this, we did attach a couple documents on our campaign. We do monthly campaigns based on our data. This comes out of our MTSS grade level meetings. So the last meeting, the team leaders and the teachers, the trend across 6th and 7th and 8th grade was basically that horseplay. So we developed a respectful interactions campaign, and that is what we're promoting this week. And hopefully our data this week will show like our respect and PBIS goes up and our referrals or minors in our program focus goes down. So that's what we'll be looking for, just concept messaging everywhere, messaging to home, a visual reminder. We've got different activities, just constantly pushing the positive of respectful interactions, and we have, like, for today's Respectful Movement Day challenge, so we have different challenges every day. That comes from our tier 1 plan.
And we're getting kids involved too. So she's part of the leadership team with kids. So they're also involved in helping with some of these activities throughout the week. So getting their buy-in from the students too. So we talk a lot about here, our tier 1 having to be tight and consistent. Otherwise, you never get to the tier 2 and 3 kids that really need your support. So when I just highlighted behavior, since that's what we're talking about here today, our behavior expectations being met at the grade level MTSS, we're looking for that 80% mark. And we also do it for academics and attendance.
And I just want to add, I think it's really important to know, when we kind of came to the school together, when she was principal, I came in a year after, and we spent a lot of time in tier 3 with students, and it's exhausting. Everyone's exhausted. You're just constantly putting out fires. So it's really important to really go back to that tier 1, and you've got 80% of your students able to go to incentives. 80% of your students are doing the right thing or more. Then your tier 1 strong, and then you start focusing on tier 2. And I think a lot of times in schools, it's hard to see that. So that's where it's important to really use the data. And then this decision rules slide right here. The behavior we use, basically, these are just some guidelines. We use PBIS points, minors. Minors are like teacher write-ups, and then majors are those referrals. So we use that data to determine what is a tier 1 and what's the criteria to go into a tier 2. Again, because teachers may want to say, oh, this student is a tier 3, but then we don't have the data using this decision rules to determine, does that student really need supports for tier 3?
And I'll have to say it's a process. This is something that did not happen overnight. Like I said, I've been here 9 years, and we're finally getting to this point. When I first got here, I would say the pyramid was turned upside down, and we were just literally putting out fires, dealing with referrals constantly, you know, and a lot of blame and not a lot of interventions being documented and properly done to help students. So it is a process to get to where we are at today. So I just want to say that when you see all this, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. So in Focus, which is the system we use here, the teachers document things in student notes, minor discipline, and then they can also request a PSLT, and I'll have Ms. Kane walk through what that looks like. The first one is on student notes. Yeah.
So, so this is, again, this is our program focus. So student notes, teachers will document, those interventions. So going back to that flow chart, if they move their seat, they'll put into the teacher notes, you know, they move their seat and on what date. So that way other teachers can see that some of the, interventions may have worked in one classroom, but not the other. And then student services, of course, like our guidance counselors and our success coaches, will put in for the student notes. So this is the data that we use in our MTSS grade level meetings. And then going into, you can go ahead to the next slide. Our minors in focus here, so teacher entering referrals, and then we have a code of conduct. So our grades, we do conduct cuts. The conduct cuts should align with the minors that teachers are putting into focus. So, you know, we were having some issues where teachers were wanting to give a student a C for behavior, and there's zero evidence of that in focus. So again, we had to come back to that flow chart and then, you know, put some PD around it in our pre-planning, and just kept coming back to it of, you know, the data needs to speak. And where are the PBIS points? If it's a certain student that's getting that C, how many PBIS points are they actually getting? So just really looking and analyzing that data. These are some of the tools that we've been using. And then our program, problem-solving leadership team, is basically when the team of the student comes together and we look at everything. We look at that whole child, and that someone had mentioned that in the chat. So looking at that whole student, looking at their attendance, their behavior, any conferences that we've had with parents, you know, just getting some background information to try to problem solve and determine what interventions will work best for that student. And most of the time we get to tier 2 and we don't have to go into tier 3 because it's working. So that work happens through our problem solving leadership team. Our teachers refer the student through this program. So it's nice, everyone gets a notification that we need to set up a time for everyone to get together to problem solve. And this just goes into the request. So we use this system for academics and attendance as well. This is a new system for us this year. So the teachers are still in training, but they basically fill out, it's pretty simple, fill out the why behind the referral. And then once they submit it, then I schedule that PSLT with the team.
So you can't do any of this if the teachers don't buy into the process. So over the years, like we said, we started really small and we built on each year, and they start to see that the data is getting better and better each year. So they slowly started to buy in. One thing that really works is when you have a teacher also speak up at faculty, pre-planning, whenever, even at team leader meetings monthly, and they talk about things that are working with PBIS and they share that data. You get more and more definitely on board. One example I have that comes to mind, there was a teacher that was not using PBIS, and so Ms. Kane went into her classroom and started modeling. And it makes a dinging noise. If you understand the PBIS online, it makes a dinging noise, and the kids knew what that meant. And all of a sudden, everybody sat up and they started paying attention, and the teacher was like won over that quick. She was just like, that's it. She knew from then on it was going to work. And all she had to do was walk in and model. So she does that quite often when we have teachers, when we pull the reports and we see that it's not, they may be writing a lot of minors, but they're not giving a lot of PBIS. So we know that there's something off there. And we did start with just paper dollars, just so you know, we didn't have the online system, and it was just making copies. And then, you know, middle school kids, they find loopholes to everything with the dollars. And so it became, you know, it wasn't as tight as it is now, but having this online tracking system really helps all of us. And we always focus on like the entire school is responsible for MTSS. It's not just one group.
And this is the PBIS app. I don't know what framework or what program you guys are going to be using, but we moved into this about 3 years ago, and it's been amazing. You can monitor the points that students are getting, the points that teachers are giving to, so again, looking at certain students that are they really getting PBIS points, and what are they getting them for? If they're having issues with disobedience, are they getting the respectful points? And then you can develop tier 2 groups. So you can see on the right side, like be on time, improved attendance. Those are like for tardies to be on time. So tier 2 group has come out of those MTSS grade level meetings, and the students in that group will get points if they're on time for that week. So you can develop different groups like that through this program. And there's a lot of other things that you can do in this program, and pull reports. It has an online store. So it's been really awesome for us. I love it, in case you can't tell.
And that is PBIS Rewards. That's
Yeah.
the program. Okay.
Yeah, it's user friendly too. The kids really like it.
Yeah.
And it's been easier to get a buy-in because it's there. There's no, it's clear, it's consistent. And then if teachers aren't using it, the kids are like, oh, I'm not, I can pull reports.
But I'll tell you, you need someone that runs the store that they purchase things from, because if you don't have someone that can do that, and it could go weeks before they get the items that they were wanting to get, it won't work. So you have to have someone that's constantly staying up on it too. So.
And you've done a really nice job of sharing how you leverage the use of that PBIS Rewards to shape the behaviors that you're trying to focus on. Because I know that sometimes in this type of approach, you lose the teaching element and it all becomes just this reward system. So could you speak to a little bit about how you've been able to keep it like in its lane and use it for what its purpose is, and not so that your whole system becomes the reward system?
Yeah, I can. So, again, this has been years of training. The teachers, it's defining what respect looks like, defining what responsible and safe looks like in the classroom. And then, like Ms. Arena said, I go in and I'll model for teachers that we do have some teachers that still now will just give all their students points for being responsible. They don't really define the behavior. What did they do? And we know that through those walkthroughs, because the students will say, oh, I get points, but I don't really know why. So, honestly, that's still an area that, like, we have some teachers really good at it, and we have some teachers that just will give the points to give the points. So that's where I come in. I go in and do coaching cycles with the teachers. But it really goes back to just modeling that, seeing it from leadership, like in the cafeteria, we say, being responsible by cleaning up after yourself. So just constantly using that language. And another big piece that is really important is getting the leadership team of students. Like we have our National Junior Honor Society and then our student council, having them really model through, our morning program, our DTV, and giving examples of what it looks like as well. So those are some things that we've done in the past to help get us where we're at and keep moving forward.
Great. If you have any questions for our guest today, please, you can either type them in, or if you want to just unmute and ask a question. We have a couple minutes if there's anything